All right, good morning. So please feel free to ask questions during what we're doing. Like I said before, we need to make sure we do this right and we don't mess this up because you could potentially lose all your data if you screw this up. So what we're going to talk about is O365 groups, so Office 365 groups and teams and how they work together. So are there any questions to start of anything that's anything that's come up over the week? Because we got the whole migration came. If not, we'll move right into it. All right, then. So what I'm talking about is our teams. So we have a bunch of teams like Everett and 5, and we're changing over to Redcom. If you guys see this, we're trying to change over to Redcom. The problem with that is that when we just changed the name, Redcom All Hands, those that have email groups, it doesn't change the email attached to it. So essentially what we have to do is recreate everything. That's what happens when they change our name. So that kind of sucks. But with that, it's better to do it this way because you get a clean start. But like I said earlier, if you don't do it correctly, there is a chance of losing all the data in your team. I'm going to pick a team that we're going to, because I just did the Redcom in 6 team. I'm going to do all hands. This way you get to see how dangerous it can actually be. Okay, so to start, we create the team, the email address first, which is an Office 365 team. So the way to get to that is we go over to our main login screen, and this is on the web. I believe this can be done inside the application, the Office application, the Outlook application, but I haven't figured it out yet. And this is just cleaner because it's separate. So I like to do it this way just to show that they're two different things. So if you choose to find a different route, let me know and we can just cover that together. But when we log into our main page, it's these two little people down here. Click on that. It'll load. All right. So once that loads, these are all the contacts that you have attached to you. Obviously, it's your contacts. Up top, it says new contact. I'm going to click that little arrow. It's a drop down. We're going to go new group. Hopefully it doesn't error out. Every once in a while, this will error out. So, and what we're going to do is we're going to make a Redcom, Everett, all hands. If you look while I'm doing this, it concatenates it so it's all together. It does the same thing for Teams group, so you create a team. So what we're going to do with our email addresses, we're going to go through, and where there should be a space, we're going to put underscores. This isn't mandatory by FlankSpeed. This is something that we do as a command so that it separates everything. So if you see what's going on. So what we're doing, we're creating the email first, if that makes sense. So this is going to be the Redcom Everett all hands group and team, because we will make this into a team as well. Team. All right, create. And then we have to start adding names. I'm just going to add myself as an owner to start with. And I do this so that I can build out the team and not interfere with everybody at the command. That's why I do it that way. All right, so now we have a group that has an email attached to it. And this is where understanding these two concepts is where we need to get at. Because if you need a team, for instance, the all hands team with an email attached to it, so an all hands email, we can create both a team and a email off the same group. But if you need a group separate from the team, we've got, if you need a group separate from the team, so such as we need a department head team with the captain in it, but we want the department head email to not have the captain in it, that would be two different groups. And we do have a question. Go ahead, Ms. Lord.
Do you want us to add all of the group members on this step, or do you just want us to do the owner first on this step and then add the group members later?
I would just do the owner first. That way you can do all the pieces you need to without, because here's the thing. If you create the group and you add members, they're going to get emails showing that you're doing all this stuff in the background.
Okay, okay.
So the best thing to do, from what I have learned, is to build your stuff out first and then add members. And I'm going to show you how to add members quickly when
Okay,
we
thank
get
you.
to the group, especially if you're going to essentially you're copying a team, you don't have to add members individually. So we'll do that. Okay, so once we create this team, it's in there, and I want to show you that it does have a SharePoint backend, just like oh, it's still working. It has to set it up. But just like Teams, it has a SharePoint backend. So the only difference between a Teams and an O365 group is that Teams interface. This is the only difference, is having this Teams to it. Hopefully that makes sense. So they are separate, but they are similar in the same sense. Another thing is that you cannot delete an Office 365 group that has a team attached to it. So like the CDO group has even though it's an email address, it also has a team attached to it. And if I try to delete it here, it actually will not delete. There's no delete button here because that all exists inside of Teams now. Hopefully that makes sense. But I'll just show you. This is the Office 365 group. It has a SharePoint backend, but this is also a Teams backend. This is how you can tell it has a Teams site. All right, any questions up to this point? All right, then moving on. So after we create the group, now we know we want to create a Teams group, we move the teams. And if in our teams, on the Teams tab, we join or create a team. Create a team, and we're going to create a team from an existing Microsoft 365 team or group or team. We're going to click that, but we're going to click 365, Microsoft 365 group, not a Teams group, 365 group. And we're doing the all hands, then click create. So now this team right here has an email address attached to it. So and the coolest part about doing this is that to edit the all hands group here, all we need to do is add members to this team. So I can add manage team, or I can just click add member from this drop down, either way. And we're going to add Miss Lord, Samantha. So now you'll have yours pop up as well, but the point of doing that is that I can refresh this. It groups. Do, 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 do. All right. And it'll show. Oh, it'll show it here. It's just taking time. Maybe if I go back and forth. It takes time to populate, but it does do both of them. So as you add someone here, it does add them to the other side. So, all right, so we created that group. Now the hard part. So within, like, we're going to duplicate the Redcom team essentially. So what I have to do first is create every single channel that this exists that's here. That's to keep continuity. So if you, within your office, no longer use, like say we're going to N35, I don't think they have anything going on, but let's go back to our N6 one. So if we no longer, because right now I only have one general one, I had 3 channels in here. We didn't use them though. So we just went back to the one one channel, if that makes sense. So see if I can find one that doesn't, has a lot of stuff in it. Oh yeah, like PAO. For general and events, if I no longer need events, I don't need to create that channel. So there is some robustness. I mean, there is some benefit to creating it again. All right, so now the next part is to create all these channels. And I'm not going to do that in here. You can see how that's done. Hey, you know how that's done. It's just click the three little dots, add channel, create a channel, or right down here. We'll create an in-doc channel. We'll just create one in doc. There you go. All right, and also another benefit is that as we're creating these, we get the same benefits of what Teams is today versus what it was when we created these teams in the first place. And what I mean by that is when you create a team, you can change the team to be more sensitive, like adding a tag, creating tags, creating different apps attached to them. See if I can add. Where's the permissions? I'm trying to make it a CUI group, but I don't want to screw it up. But you can create a CUI group or anything along those lines. So you get those benefits that didn't exist when we created the first time. Okay, so now moving the data is what we're going to talk about. So to move the data, we have to sync both the Redcom all hands group, the old one, and the Redcoms all hands new one, Everett all hands. So the way we do that is we click on the general folder and files, and then open in SharePoint. That will open in SharePoint, and we do the same thing to the next one. General, files, SharePoint. All right. So there's nothing here. So once we get to both these, if you notice, this is just the general channel. If I click on documents, it's the whole structure. Same thing with this one. We click on documents and there's no structure. It's just the in-doc channel because we just created that. So the next step is to sync with our OneDrive locally. So we click sync, open. This will open our OneDrive. And then, there we go. We got a bunch of stuff in here. Probably should delete this. But we got Everett all hands documents. All right. And then we do it with the next one. This is the RCC all hands. Okay. It's thinking. Redcom all hands right here. Nope, that's not it. Here we go. But I'm going to create this and open a new file browser. So I right clicked on my file Explorer, click New Explorer, and then we're going to click on the Redcom all hands. Where'd you go? I think it's this one, but we changed the name of it. Redcom. Oh, maybe it's this one. So as you can see, it actually didn't change anything when we changed the name of the team. It's kind of lame. I was hoping. All right, so the next step is to sync all this data locally. I'm just make sure I got the right one. Redcom Everett, all hands. Yep, this has got to be it. Okay, so the way you sync locally is since we're in the top library, we highlight them all, right click on them, and we're going to always keep on this device. This is going to take a lot of time, unfortunately. Luckily, one did it really quick, so I can still show you how this works. So what we're going to do is we can create these files over here just by dragging them. It'll move them. They'll move from one team to the next. If you notice, it's no longer here. It's over here. It's syncing with the SharePoint backend. I hope there's stuff in that one. It doesn't. Dang it, there's nothing in it, which is lame. We want to get one that actually has something in it, so I can show you how this works. Let's try the CA. All right, so we're moving documents from the CA to the CA. See, InDoc. Does InDoc have anything? Simio. It does. Just putting some data in here. So you can see this working. Whoops, wrong button. All right. And if you remember, I only created the InDoc group before, channel before. I actually didn't create the CS or the CA channel in here, which do exist up here. Yep, so this is empty because I've actually moved them from here and added them to this team. All I need to do is add a channel, call it CA. So it's got to be the same thing as the folder will be in the back end. Click add, and the files will populate. If you notice that channel didn't exist before, and I created it, and all I did is create the channel to make the same thing to be named, excuse me, the same thing the folder in the back end would be, and it automatically connected it. And I'll show you again to show. So this is the CFS, so the command fitness specialist. I'm going to put something in there. We're going to do a logo really quick. Here we go. This is just a picture. Okay, so this is syncing. And as you look, the CFS channel does not exist, but it does in the back end. Okay. I'm going slow here. I'm going to add a channel. CFS. Add files. That picture exists. Hope you understand how that works. So what happens is as I move from one team to another, I don't have to create the channels first. If I create the channels first, essentially I have to populate each folder individually. But if I just grab the whole thing, except for the stuff that's not moving, and I pull them up, let me make sure I don't cut that general channel. I don't want to copy over anything that's here. Pull this over. And as it syncs, it's going to move everything over to the new team. All right. And what I can do is under this new team is create the channels as later. They will automatically sync. All right. Are there any questions? Okay. So be careful and make sure you check everything before you delete each team, because once you delete this, it goes into a recycling bin that essentially is nowhere. You delete everything out of it. The recycling bin actually exists for the top level guys. So once you delete it, for all intents and purposes, is gone. So make sure everything is there first. Oh, we got an error. Skip that one. Skip. Skip. Skip them all. All right. All right, and that's what I have today. If there are no other questions, we're done.
Okay, well, I'm gonna just ask the dumb question of the
They're
day,
not
or
dumb.
maybe a series of dumb questions.
Okay.
Okay, so so we've done this for our respective departments.
Yep.
And we've set up this updated email.
Okay.
How does that relate to our prior business practices within the GAL of using a standard mailbox, group mailbox? Does this replace that group mailbox now going forward?
It will replace the group mailbox. So what's going to happen is, since once everybody gets pulled into Flying Speed, essentially everything is redone. Your GAL is fresh for all intents and purposes, meaning that your old distro groups don't exist anymore. They do, but they don't exist in this environment.
Okay, does it automatically then, because I saw where you modified the email address to add the underscore spaces and whatever, and okay, that's great. Is that what gets populated in the GAL? And how does that information get there?
So this is populated in the GAL, and I'll show you what I mean. So once I
Okay.
create this, and I'm in my email, and I create a new email, I can use the Redcom, and I just did this group too. Redcom Everett, or yeah, was it Red Everett? Here, we'll just do it this way. Come on. It's thinking. Okay, Redcom Everett.
I think we're missing a D in Redcom.
You are correct. We're missing a D. Okay, so as you can see, it actually has the all hands group that I just created. And if I look at the properties, it'll show that I'm the only member in there. Although I did add Miss Lord in there. She needs to come in as well.
Okay.
And I can
So
modify members.
the timing of this, if not all of your team members are under Flying Speed yet, at what point do you then say, okay, create your group and do all this business and add all your members? But if everyone doesn't have a Flying Speed activated account yet, or does everybody have an activated Flying Speed account? Let me just start with that.
They don't yet. So not
Okay,
everybody at the command does.
That's what I thought.
And that's the biggest issue we're coming up with, is
Okay.
that not everybody has an activated account. Now, with that being said, the majority do.
Okay.
So that's why we're starting this now. Let's just add members. Let's see if I can add maybe Region Northwest, RCC, Everett, all hands. Come on. It's not wanting to cooperate right now. There it goes. So now it's adding all 63 members that are connected to that email list. I don't need to add myself. But here is the benefit to doing it this way, is that everyone who does have a Teams account, like Miss Fetus, we know she has not been migrated yet.
Right.
But because of how they are syncing the two gals, if we add her to this list, she will still receive all hands emails.
Okay. So at what point then do we say, because I'm working on something right now,
Yep.
And historically I put in this correspondence, contact the innate mailbox if you have any questions. So it's like, okay, so we have our innate mailbox currently, but now I'm creating this new group, and we're going to have this, updated Redcom account.
Yep.
Is the old NRNW one still working?
It does still work. We are trying to point everybody to the new ones, but they both still work.
Okay.
Now, will they always still work? No. They'll eventually, the old ones will go away.
Right.
And that there isn't a time frame on that yet. But
look, I've been added.
Yeah.
How lovely. Okay.
Yeah. but we're assuming that'll be probably next fiscal year at the earliest.
Oh, okay. Well,
so
that's interesting. And that kind of that goes along with my next question, in that, in today's environment, there are some distribution lists currently within the GAL that we N8 did not build or
Correct.
or did not have, a direct control over, if you will. So if we need to send out email correspondence to the Triad or to all the logisticians, we did not build those distro lists. So who's building them now going forward?
N6 will be building them going forward.
Ah,
Everything in-house. Anything that's multiple departments is N6's job. Anything that's
okay.
within the department is the department champion's job. That's how we're distributing that up. Because what happens is that as you create a list, like the N5 group, they created this and added me as an owner. But they can take me out. They can run this. You can run your group how you want to run your group. You do not need N6 anymore to tell you how to do things.
Okay, but we still need to maintain continuity and consistency.
And we do.
So does an N6 want to build all these for everybody?
So we're not building out everybody. That's what these meetings are for, is to trying to get everybody on the same page on this is how we build out an email address, because honestly, you can build it out any way you want, and you can.
I can. Maybe I missed that underscore between Redcom and Everett, and then is it forever?
No, it's not. It's not forever. You can actually create a new one right as you go and delete this old one. I can't delete it anymore because I've created a I believe this is a separate group now. You can leave groups, add groups. So you can delete it right away, or maybe you forget to delete it. They will actually time out after 90 days of non-use. They'll automatically delete.
Oh, okay.
That might scare you.
Yes,
that might scare you.
It's a little concerning.
It's all right.
That's definitely good to note.
It does. So you come into this same interface. If you look, it says member owner deleted. I can see the teams that have been deleted, and after so many days, they actually, it tells you right here. This group
you can restore it though.
You sure can.
And that will restore everything back, correct?
Correct. Everything is restored. This is the how would I put this? This is the recycling bin for us, if that makes sense.
Okay, but when something goes to the recycling bin, and I'm going to use, my shop as an example. So, we've built this this new email address. We've got, say, all the NRCs are sending stuff to our new group email box, and then suddenly, for whatever reason, I haven't tinkered with it for 90 days, and it goes into this, deleted status. Does that mean it's no longer in the GAL at all for anybody to use? Or
no, they can so deleted status, because we attach teams to them. Any activity on the team side or the email side keeps them active, if that makes sense. Any activity. So if you're within your office, so let's put it this way. So if you created an N6 one, right? Let me see these owners, like our N6 office. We created our N6 Everett, and you email our office. Everyone in this office is going to get these emails. But we also have a team attached to it that we very much use on a regular basis. We keep a lot of, this is essentially our share drive. So as we use this, it keeps this active.
Okay. Yeah, so we haven't been using the team side of it, at least not for N8. So we've been relying on the share drive, the true share drive, for this type of work. So we need to shift our mindset. It's gonna,
it takes time. It takes time.
It's gonna take time. My brain is not as elastic as it used to be. It's not as young as it used to be.
It's one of the reasons why we're trying to get this up now and get people using it now, instead of, hey, share drive's going away tomorrow. This is the new way of doing it. Because
so do we need to bring all of our share drive stuff into this now? Is that the recommendation?
Our recommendation is to do that. because of the power you get from this, because I no longer have to be sitting at my NMCI machine to get our share drive stuff, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And if there's something, if there is something here that you don't want somebody to manipulate, so like maybe your instructions, you don't want somebody to be manipulating this thing all the time, you can create them as PDFs, you can lock them down, you can password protect them, or you can put them up one level. You go to the SharePoint backend.
Hmm.
This is what I do, if you notice, is you just put everything else up one level. If you look, this archive does not actually exist in our team. We put our archives up one level. They still exist, they're here, but the only way to get to them, quote unquote, get to them
Uh-huh.
is to map the actual drive or do it in SharePoint. This way in Teams, people can't willy-nilly just change the stuff that we have that's archived.
Right. So the functionality in on the shared drive today, where we walk down the hall and ask N6 to lock down a particular folder because it's got CUI in it, and we only want certain members to have access to that.
That is up to you now.
That is okay. That is our power to decide and set up. Okay.
And if, let's say you lock it down and it's really locked down,
Yeah.
where you're like, I don't know how to unlock it. That's where you would come to N6 or pull us into your team as an owner, and we can help you set up the permissions. And then
is that a good idea anyway, to just include
I would say
N6
no, because this
as
is
an
what
owner?
happens. This is what happens. I have lots of teams that I just don't pay attention to. So,
Okay.
but you can pull me in and out as
Okay.
you will. So it's not
Fair
a
enough.
big deal.
Okay. He says yes. Okay.
Also, if we're in your team as an owner, we have access to your data. You may not want us to have access to your data because FlankSpeed is now a PII, CUI, a HIPAA certified environment. So all that stuff can exist within FlankSpeed now. You probably want to minimize that access to the lowest level possible.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's another benefit of having these teams decentralized, is that you can control that now.
Okay.
And actually within your team, if you've noticed, there is such thing as private channels. When you create a private channel, test channel, when you create a private channel, and this is, someone has to be added to it. You don't have to, but just skip this step. So the reason I want to show the private channel is that when I go to the Teams backend, if you notice, that channel does not actually get created here. Yeah, so it does actually here. You have to sync that individually. So only people with access to that channel can sync it.
Okay.
Files, and then they can sync it here. Or they can go to SharePoint, doesn't matter. But it's all here. Only people attached to that channel. So this is a way to granulate those permissions a little bit. So I'll put it this way, Miss Tate, you got a great position. So you being an N8, maybe you put everything for your whole office in here. But let's say you have an issue with a worker, and so you have a department head channel. So you got your N8, but you also have department head, so it's just you. But maybe you want to bring Miss Courtney in because you're trying to discuss somebody.
Yes.
So you bring Miss Courtney in, and you literally have everything going on within that private channel, and no one can get access to it except for you two, even though it's inside your N8 channel that everybody else is in.
Can I, speaking of my deputy, when I set up the owner, can I also include her as an owner as well?
So what I do is I set up owners for my entire office. And maybe that might freak you out a little bit because you're like, well, I don't want everybody to be an owner. So the reason I do it this way.
So everybody's an owner and a member?
Yeah, nope, just everybody's an owner. It's an owner and a member. But the reason I do it this way is they have access to all standard channels. They do not have access to all private channels.
Okay.
So like if Mr. Clifton or Miss Gabrielle Garcia tried to go and try and see my test channel, they actually won't even see it because I didn't add them to that channel at all.
Okay.
because I can own, these owners are separate per channel.
Okay, so I'm gonna cross out my notes about adding members for my channel and write in everyone's an owner.
Yeah, I put everybody as an owner
Okay,
for the department, and then I granulate my permissions. So
okay,
by private channel,
gotcha.
we haven't done that yet, so we haven't needed to yet. But I can see the need arising, especially if you have to, especially with finance. You have different streams of information that not everybody needs access to. So
Not everybody has need to know.
so there's that. All right. Miss Laura, do you have any questions? Did I completely confuse everybody?
I think I'm following. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll ask if I have questions.
That's completely fine. And then I noticed that Mr. Estrada popped in. It's all right. We are recording this meeting so that we can go back through and see what we've covered. Do you have any specific questions or issues you've come up with, Chief Estrada, that you want to bring up with the group? I'm going to leave that as a no. All right. That's all I have. If you would like for me to sit down and walk you through creating these things, I can do that. We can set up a time to do that. Because this does not have to happen today. We just recommend doing it as soon as you can. So, all right.
I will take you up on that offer.
Okay. All right.